program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits at PTL Radio Show on the YouTube page. We just passed 152,000 subscribers, so I'm pretty happy about that. And on X, I am now the Brian Shapiro instead of at PTL Radio Show, the Brian Shapiro. And some entertaining stuff on my X account if you want to check it out. I've been getting into it with Myron Gaines after I posted a clip from our little verbal battle that we had in Washington, D.C. last weekend. I put that clip up, and even the Tate brothers are responding to it. Yes, that's right. Bigoted fools usually defend bigoted fools. So it's funny, I see some people on social media saying Tim Pool has rubbed off on me. No, I've wore this hat a long time, way before I met Tim Pool. But I do like these hats. And it's a little chilly in studio today, believe it or not. So, I had to warm myself up a little bit. But we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, a lot to get to. At PTL Radio Show on the YouTube page. Please subscribe. Give us the thumbs up on there. We're on TikTok. We are everywhere. And we appreciate you guys being a part of the show. There's obviously a lot to talk about today, including dissecting more of the Epstein files and the huge cover-up that is going on right now in the White House. So we are covering all those stories, and Republicans continuing to lie, shameful lies about inflation, about where the economy is headed, where it's going, and even more fallout with Donald Trump's interview with Laura Ingraham at the White House. So there's a lot to get to. There's a lot to talk about, and we are going to dive right into it. So I want to start with, obviously, Kevin Hassett. If you don't know who Kevin Hassett is, another MAGA clown within the Trump administration. As you know, the new October jobs report, again, was not very positive for Donald Trump. I think the last number that I saw, over 50,000 private sector jobs were lost. The headed in the wrong direction. It's not just meat and beef that is way up. Excuse me, that is a lie. Now, I understand that eggs prices have fallen, and gas prices from this point last year are only down 2 cents. So the idea that gas has been plummeting, inflation as a whole has been up for the last 5 months. Now, I want you to listen to Kevin Hassett and what he said about the latest jobs report, because this is just blatant corruption. There's really no other way around it. Everyone in Donald Trump's administration knows where the real numbers are at. They know the October jobs report was horrible, but I want you to listen to Kevin Hassett, being the MAGA buffoon that he is, trying to spin it on national television this morning.
And the household survey wasn't conducted in October, so we're going to get half the employment report. We'll get the jobs part, but we won't get the unemployment rate, and that'll just be for 1 month. But yeah, it is true that we probably will maybe be able to concoct something, but we'll never actually know for sure what the unemployment rate was in October.
That is a complete lie. That is blatant corruption. Everybody in this administration knows exactly what these numbers are and how horrible these numbers are. And they're willing to make any excuse to cover them up, just like they're doing with Jeffrey Epstein. Kevin Hassett is lying to the American people, just like virtually everybody else in the Donald Trump administration. It is pathetic. And you want to talk about America first. You want to talk about everyday, hardworking Americans, or even many of people who have voted for Donald Trump, many of whom are not wealthy people. And then you have Eric Trump on national TV yesterday. I've been very clear what I think about Eric and Don Jr. I called them Uday and Kusei. Listen to the way Eric Trump is talking about Bitcoin. Keep in mind, these are when people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're suffering. Many people need food stamps. They need their health care coverage, Medicaid. And Eric Trump, being the doofus that he is talking about sending $500 million worth of Bitcoin on a Sunday night. Wow, really America first, ladies and gentlemen, really talking about all of Donald Trump's constituents. Have a listen to this.
There's no reason at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon I shouldn't be able to send out a swift wire transfer. Right now you can't. I try and make a transfer every single week, and you're trying to push before the 5 o'clock deadline to either receive money or to get it out. How is that modern day finance? You can send $500 million worth of Bitcoin on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. while having a glass of wine with your wife for virtually zero fees. How is the system this lethargic? Why does it take you 120 days to get go through Know Your Customer with your bank if you want to get a home mortgage? It doesn't make any sense. Cryptocurrency is going to fix every single one of these issues, and Bitcoin is digital gold. Bitcoin is going to be one of the greatest stores of value we've ever seen, ever.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you cleared that up, because most people in this country can just send $500 million on a dime. Thank you for really getting to know the people who voted for your dad and middle America, the people out there that are struggling to put food stamps or keep food stamps and put food on the table for their families, the people that have lost their jobs, all the farmers out there, the people that can't even afford prescription medication. And you have Eric Trump on national television talking about sending $500 million in Bitcoin while your family makes billions of dollars off of this crypto scheme that you and your family have put together. You are some of the worst people on the planet. And you have Eric Trump. No, he's not talking about people that are struggling living paycheck to paycheck. He's not talking about the government shutdown where for at least 2 to 3 paychecks, people were not able to receive money, even though many of them still got up in the morning and went to work. No, he's not talking about those people. The people that are struggling to put food on the table, the people that are afraid that they're not going to be able to afford their health care because of your stupid father in this administration. But you want to talk about $500 million of Bitcoin and sending it on a Sunday night? Do you think people can kind of like associate themselves with that? Oh, yeah, I know what Eric Trump is talking about. I tried to send $500 million in Bitcoin the other day. The hell are you doing, you buffoon? You think people can associate with that? A $500 million payment? This is how out of touch these people are. And it's always the MAGA Republicans that are talking about lefties and Democrats being out of touch, right? The liberal elitists, right? Go to Mar-a-Lago. Those are the people that Donald Trump hangs out with. They're usually middle-aged, wealthy stiffs who want to make America white again. Go to Mar-a-Lago. Tell me if you see everyday people. No, the people you see at Mar-a-Lago are the people that can relate to what Eric Trump is talking about, which is sending $500 million in a Bitcoin on a Sunday night. 99.99999% of the population cannot relate to that. But Eric Trump, being the doofus that he is, still talks about it. And they're talking about Eric Trump or Don Jr. running for president. Are you kidding me? That might even be worse than their bigot father. That might even be worse. But you see, Republicans, again, so many of them are so complicit, they continue to make excuses for Orange Man, and they continue to lie. Lisa McClain is a perfect example of that. So she was on one of the networks earlier today, and she was talking about Hakeem Jeffries. Now, for the most part, Hakeem Jeffries and many of the Democrats have been talking about fighting for the American people, while the Republicans were on an 8-week paid vacation during the shutdown, as you know. One of the main reasons for that is that Mike Johnson did not want to vote on releasing the Epstein files. And I want you to listen to what Lisa McClain says here, because here she's attacking Hakeem Jeffries, saying that we need to work together when the session's been out for 8 weeks and Republicans have been on paid vacation. Have a listen to this.
Those fighting words from Hakeem Jeffries, what do they mean to you? Have you spoken with him?
Yeah, I have not spoken with Hakeem Jeffries, but what those words mean to me are kind of sad. I want to fight. Fight for what? How about if we work together for the American people to do what's right? But whether it's Hakeem Jeffries or their number 2, Catherine Clark, or Chuck Schumer, they're not fighting for the American people, Harris. They're fighting for their communist left wing and for their own skin.
You stupid right-wing buffoon, you lying buffoon, you. Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. for the last 2 months, trying to work with Republicans to save health care and food stamps for so many Americans that are struggling, while you idiots have been on a paid vacation for 2 months. And you have the audacity to go on national television while you guys are fighting against judges, when judges are saying Donald Trump needs to use these billions of dollars to fund food stamps for Americans that may be losing it, and you guys are fighting against these judges because you don't want to allocate this money to help families that are struggling, that need to put food on the table, that are starving, yet you have the audacity to go on national television and say the Democrats are the ones to blame for this? Lisa McClain is such a lying scum. That's what she is. She's a lying scumbag. And just like Tiny Mike Johnson and many of those on the far right that have been on paid vacation for the last 2 months, she has the audacity to talk about working together. Hakeem Jeffries and even Chuck Schumer and many of House Democrat leaders have been trying to contact and speak with MAGA Republicans for months when you guys have been on paid vacation. Working together. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? The Democrats are not perfect. And I would never sit here and say that they are. And I am livid at the Democrats that voted for this GOP bill to end the shutdown. I am livid at them. And I'm going to also get into Steve Fetterman. I am livid with him as well. But for Lisa McClain to say we need to work together when we know that the Republican Party and all that they are doing is biggest tax breaks for the top 1%, $100 billion in tax breaks this year, and you want to take food stamps away from the most needy and the most vulnerable people. This is not just a Donald Trump problem. This is not just a MAGA Republican problem. I have been saying this for decades, even before I did political talk radio. The Republican Party has a very long history of taking away or wanting to take away welfare, food stamps, maternity leave, and basically any government program that can help the most vulnerable people. The Democrats are not perfect, but they want to make sure and do everything they can to try and raise minimum wage, to try to make sure people get the health care that they deserve, helping women raise children, while Republicans say that women who get abortions should go to jail. But once that child is born, we're going to take away every government benefit that can help you raise that child. The Republican Party has a long history of not wanting to and hurting struggling families in this country. If you don't believe me, you could look at their voting record. Now it's just on steroids. In the Trump administration, they're just showing it, out loud. And it's on steroids. So for this idiot, Lisa McClain, to say, well, we just need to work together. Are you kidding me? You're fighting judges to try to take money away for people that need food stamps, need to keep food stamps on the table, you imbecile. And then there's Kelly Loeffler. Kelly Loeffler is another right-wing MAGA fool who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. She's lying shamelessly on CNBC today, lies about inflation. The numbers are out before you even hear this audio. It is clear as day, and this is not an opinion. It is a fact. Inflation has gone up for the last 5 months in every report month to month as a whole. Inflation has gone up. I could be wrong. I think it's somewhere around 1.3 or 1.7%. Inflation is going up. It has been going up for the last 5 months. But here is another right-wing Karen Christian lady by the name of Kelly Loeffler, who sadly is an elected official who wants to lie on CNBC, and sadly a lot of her stupid supporters believe her when she lies about inflation. Have a listen to this.
One of the concerns we heard earlier in the year from some small business owners was, especially if their business model involves importing goods from a foreign country, the tariffs would be a headwind. Are you getting the sense that they think of that more like that, or is that lessening?
Look, that was doomcasting generally by the media and the Democrats. That hasn't played out. Our inflation has continued to fall. Wages have grown. Investment has increased in this country. Nothing says confidence in the future of this economy like putting $17 billion, or like small businesses borrowing $45 billion, or having a backlog of 10,000 small businesses that want to borrow. Small businesses know that America is the best game in town, that we're only getting better under President Trump, and he has their back every step of the way. President Trump knows that small business is big business, and look, fair trade is something that small businesses have been wanting.
Let me be very clear. Everything that Kelly Loeffler just said is not true. Inflation has been rising for the last 5 months. Why won't people question her on her lies and give out the actual statistics? If Kelly Loeffler was about to do this show, I would make sure I had those stats right in front of me. And I would question her on it, saying, you don't believe this? Do you think the earth is flat as well? They're blatant lies. If you speak to these MAGA imbeciles, they'll say everything's great, the economy's great, everything's headed in the right direction. And when you speak to an economist who is not partisan, they will tell you we're most likely headed towards a recession. Kelly Loeffler is a liar. Eric Trump is a liar. Lisa McClain is a liar. Do you know who else is a liar? Somebody by the name of Brooke Rollins. Keep in mind that the Republicans have been on an 8-week paid vacation, paid by the taxpayer, and she makes the statement on national television that they're working 20 to 22 hours a day. Folks, I'm not making this up. Listen to this audio.
Now, maybe they didn't say we're holding Najee hostage in order to get $200 million in illegal healthcare, illegal alien healthcare, but there was no doubt, leverage point, this is our leverage point. Hey guys, we have a leverage point. Meanwhile, we're working literally 20 to 22 hours a day to try to figure out how to move this out under these very unusual and unprecedented circumstances.
Does anybody actually believe that? Brooke Rollins, while Donald Trump is playing golf, staying at Mar-a-Lago, playing golf at Doral and his other golf courses, and having lavish dinners in fundraisers with very wealthy billionaire bankers, Brooke Rollins wants to lead you to believe that Republicans are working 20 to 22 hours a day. Wow, that's really impressive. You're on 2 hours of sleep a day. Yeah, I'm sure that's very accurate. That's just as accurate as Kelly Loeffler saying that inflation has continued to fall. Just as accurate as Lisa McClain, who says we need to all work together. Very accurate and very honest when Eric Trump's talking about a $500 million Bitcoin transfer. People can really, really relate to that, right? Brooke Rollins is a liar. And then Brooke Rollins is asked what I would consider to be a very fair question. Asked on CNN, where's your humanity? Why are you going to the Supreme Court to fight against SNAP payments? Ladies and gentlemen, this is not an opinion. That is what the Trump administration is doing right now. While there are plenty of people out there, I would imagine, that voted for Donald Trump, that are struggling to put food on the table and are afraid that their SNAP benefits are going to be gone. Sadly, some of those people have already lost their SNAP benefits. That is what the Trump administration is doing. They're not fighting to allocate funds, which they could easily use, to help people put food on the table with SNAP benefits. No, they're not talking about that. Let me repeat this. They're fighting the Supreme Court against SNAP payments. Is that America first? While we bail out other economies, while he wants 600,000 Chinese students to come to this country to work because he doesn't feel like there's enough talented people in the United States of America, while we're bailing out other economies like I mentioned, we're cutting food stamps, we're cutting Medicaid. And Brooke Rollins doesn't think this is an honest question. By the way, it's a fact. This is not an opinion, okay? They are fighting the Supreme Court because they don't want to pay people SNAP benefits so that they can put food on the table. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. So Brooke Rollins is asked about this, and she doesn't like the question, but notice how she doesn't address it and she doesn't really talk about it. They want to continue to blame Democrats because, yes, you guessed it, Brooke Rollins is a liar. Have a listen to this.
You're putting the responsibility on the Democrats who weren't voting for the CR that would have funded SNAP.
But
and
you
I
have
understand.
to agree that's fair.
I understand. I as a journalist,
Right.
I'm not taking a position on that. I'm saying that is the argument. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that argument. That Republicans like yourself are making administration officials, right? But at the same time, when you look at the facts, in 2019, SNAP was able to be funded. When you look at the court cases, I understand in principle you say, who is a judge to say what we need to do moving money
judge for
around?
Rhode Island,
But if there
big
is money
Democrat
that is
donor.
available that could be moved around, like was done for WIC, like was done to pay military members, and according to the information we have, that could be done in the immediate future. what do you say to someone who would ask, well, where is the sense of humanity? Why are you fighting this? Why are you going to the Supreme Court on this and fighting it? Where is the sense of humanity?
I mean, really, where is the sense of humanity when 15 different times over 45 days, they themselves admitted they were holding Americans hostage to $200 million for health care for illegal aliens, $50 million for NPR and left-leaning media centers, millions for LGBTQ programs in the Balkans and other countries around the world. Are you serious right now? Is this why you're not going to open the government to support these programs that the majority of Americans, perhaps even the supermajority of Americans, do not support? And that is really the crux of the situation. Again, the president was so clear, and we were band-aiding, and we were duct taping, and we were bubble gumming all the way through October to get those funds out. And from the very beginning of October, we said, guys, November 1, there is nothing left. There is nothing that we believe statutorily, constitutionally, that we are able to do. We have got to get the government open so that Najee and all of these families can get their benefits.
Notice how she didn't answer the question at all, and she played whataboutism. And by the way, I'll go through it with you. Because more lies, because again, Brooke Rollins is a liar. The question was about you guys going at the Supreme Court trying to fight against SNAP payments. That was the question. Did she answer it? No. She said, oh, Pamela, I mean, really? And then she talked about some program allegedly where there's millions of dollars that the Democrats want to be allocated towards the LGBTQ community. Now, notice she said a few million. $100 billion in tax cuts for the top 1%. But you see, people like Brooke Rollins won't talk about that. $100 billion in tax cuts for the top 1%. Where's that money going? Imagine what we could do with that money. She's talking about a few $1 million towards some LGBTQ program for a group of people that have been discriminated against. That's where she has the problem. But notice how she didn't answer the question. They are literally going after the Supreme Court because they don't want to pay these people in SNAP payments, people that are struggling to put food on the table. And her response, oh, but look at what the Democrats are doing with this. Look at what the Democrats are doing with that. Because these MAGA Republicans never answer a direct question because they're all lying fools. That's why. Who don't care about the American people. If they cared about the American people, they would have made sure that this money would have been allocated to save SNAP benefits for families and people in this country that are deserving of it, that are struggling. They wouldn't be cutting Medicaid for over 20 million people in this country that are soon going to be losing their medical coverage because of this big and awful bill. And she wants to talk about Democrats and some few $1 million that was allocated towards an LGBTQ, some sort of cause. Another lying fool. And here's where Brooke Rollins really starts to get me going, if I'm not going already. She's talking about corruption and how SNAP is so corrupt, and then she lies about everybody that is getting SNAP and claims that there's 186,000 people that are not alive that are getting SNAP benefits. By the way, there's no evidence to prove this, but have a listen.
But here's the other thing, Pamela, I think is really important. I've talked quite a bit about this. SNAP is a broken program. SNAP is full of corruption. We found 186,000 dead people. We asked for the SNAP data earlier this year. It has never been turned over to the federal government before. We had 29 states turn it over, mostly red states. 21 states said, no, thank you, we're in litigation. From just those 29 states, we have found, again, almost 200,000 dead people. It's remarkable.
And I understand.
So
and the big,
sure
beautiful bill that
Najee
passed by Republicans, part of that addressed what Republicans saw as issues with SNAP, and now some people have been taken off the program as a result.
That's right.
So let me be very clear. The 186,000 people that she is talking about has never been proven in a court of law. Those are statements that are made by people on the right who want to take food stamps away from everyday hardworking Americans. That has never been proven. Because if you're not alive and there is a member of your family or somebody who is taking advantage of food stamps from a loved one that you lost, that is against the law, and that could be considered a felony. None of that has been proven in a court of law. Yes, there are dozens of cases across the country where, yes, people have been charged. That is going to happen with any government program, but this $186,000, and it's interesting because these idiots like Brooke Rollins, because she's a complete imbecile with obviously no moral compass, she cares all of a sudden about corruption. Does she have a problem with Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis? Does she have a problem with the Trump family making close to $1 billion with a crypto scandal? Because I guarantee you, if I asked Brooke Rollins right now about that, she would say, oh, I don't know anything about that. I can't comment on it because I don't know anything about that. But let's talk about this alleged fraud, which has not been proven in a court, where they're claiming 186,000 Americans in this country are not alive, and there are family members that are breaking the law. By the way, they also claim that all these undocumented immigrants are leaving food stamps while using it, when, by the way, that's illegal. They're not allowed to do so. They say these things that are not true, and they throw it at a wall because they understand that the Newsmax, Fox News, and OAN doofuses believe it. They believe anything they hear from these politicians that lie every single day. And then we hear about what Donald Trump's biggest strength is from the orange buffoon himself. Keep in mind, we're probably headed towards a recession. Inflation continues to rise. Virtually almost nothing is going down in this country other than maybe the price of eggs. There are many people in this country that are losing their jobs. There are many people in this country are worried where are they going to get their next meal. There are many people worried in this country, how am I going to afford my health care for me and my family? And while all this stuff is going on, Donald Trump said it himself, his top priority is the ballroom. And I want you to listen to what Donald Trump said in his own words, what he thinks his greatest strength is: building ballrooms. Have a listen to this.
But I'll show you something. This is the equivalent of what I do with the ballroom. I built many ballrooms and many buildings, and that's my greatest strength, actually. Might as well do this. So this room was in terrible shape. This was done by Jackie Kennedy. Jackie Kennedy Onassis, then Jackie Kennedy, I hope. And she took this area, it's called the Palm Court, and here we had one by one little tiles that were all broken, cheap, out of a box. The walls weren't good. We took it, I restored it. I put in new chandeliers. They had lanterns that were terrible.
I remember this room.
Yeah, it was a nothing room.
Yeah.
It was an embarrassment.
There was a seat, a bench right underneath there. Yeah.
To come to the Oval Office, you had to go through this room. It was an embarrassment, okay? And I took it down and rebuilt it, same as she had it, but at a much higher level. And take a look at the floor. Take a look at the marble. So this is called.
It is really pretty.
Statuary marble. But look at the book ending. Look at the book match. Look how it matches.
That's tough to do.
No, it's very tough. You don't get it. If it's an eighth of an inch off, it's no good.
Is that brass? The brass?
That's two brass strips. But even if you look at the air conditioner vent, it's book matched.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Who can do that? I can do that because I know that. You know, it's even available that you could do that. Very few people can do it. So you take a vent that's supposed to be a piece of aluminum or steel, and the marble man said, I said, do you think you could book match a vent? He said, yeah, look at the other one over there, book match. But look at the quality of that job.
Donald Trump, in his own words, saying that his greatest strength is building ballrooms. And that's who you idiots voted for? That's who you morons voted for? Building ballrooms? Greatest strength. Running the country and lowering cost? Maybe not so much. Maybe he should have stuck to, tacky home renovations. I don't know. His greatest strength, building ballrooms. Now, I would tend to disagree with him. I think his greatest strength is manipulating the media and brainwashing people, very ignorant people that believe every single word that he says. That's my personal opinion. Now, I had Joe Walsh, former presidential candidate, on the show yesterday, and Joe Walsh and Scott Jennings don't seem to get along very well. Rightfully so. I think Scott Jennings is a smug puke, is what he is. And I've talked about the Jeffrey Epstein files a lot on this show. A lot. And I've been very clear on this. I don't care whether somebody is a Republican or a Democrat. I said that during Joe Biden's administration, too, during the Maxwell trial. And there's a lot of people that are very uneducated on this issue. And they'll ask the question, why didn't Biden release it? Why didn't he release the files? Well, under the Maxwell trial during the Biden administration, they were sealed. He was not allowed to do so. But let's just say even if Joe Biden was allowed to do so, I think if that's the case, he should have released them. I believe there are very powerful people on both sides of the aisle that are in those files. Yes, I do believe Donald Trump is clearly one of them. I've been very open and honest on that. But the way that these people on the right continue to curl themselves into a pretzel to defend Donald Trump and say, well, there's really nothing to see here. Let's talk about other stuff. Let's talk about more prevalent stuff like banning books. What does it tell you that when Donald Trump had private meetings with both Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert earlier this week, which he virtually never does. The only reason why he did it is because these are two women that have voted to release the Epstein files. One of the very few things that I agree with these women on, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I want you to listen to this phony on CNN, Scott Jennings. I cannot even watch CNN when this guy is on because he's such a smug puke and so disingenuous. Listen to Scott Jennings when he actually discusses and tries to defend Donald Trump when it comes to these new revelations with Jeffrey Epstein. Have a listen to this.
Yeah, look, I don't dispute there were powerful people around him. Most of them were leftists and globalists. And, Donald Trump, I don't think really had anything to do with it. The lady that you mentioned, Virginia, had said before that she'd only, I think, met Donald Trump once, and he was a perfect gentleman and didn't do anything untoward at all. And so, again, I think these things are being thrown out to try to smear Donald Trump, obviously, to try to change the subject away from the Democratic failures for having shut down the government for 43 days and inflicted pain on the American people. But nothing that I have seen in any of these documents prove anything, tell me anything. No one's ever disputed that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, we've known that for years and years and years. We knew that yesterday. We know it today. And I just don't think, frankly, Caitlin, the American people, when they're looking at the pantheon of issues they've got going on right now, I just don't think this one ranks in that high for them.
So laughable because MAGA Republicans have been talking about the Epstein files for years. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is the guy that most likely is in these files, and all of a sudden Scott Jennings, I don't think the American people really want to talk about this. Well, I know Donald Trump told you to say that. Donald Trump doesn't want us talking about it. For years, every single day, we heard from MAGA Republicans about the elitists in Hollywood and the pedos and the conspiracy theories, and Bill Clinton is in the files literally every single day. It was Pam Bondi that had those morons out there with binders. Do you remember that in D.C.? Jack Posobiec and those other idiots. And now, all of a sudden, Scott Jennings thinks that he knows what every American is thinking. And now, all of a sudden, he's saying, I don't think Americans really want to talk about this. Oh, no, I do. I do. I'll talk about it every day until they're released. I do. And it's not because I'm on the left. And it's not because any other reason other than the fact that I want these people, these victims, to get justice. That's what I want. And I would ask Scott Jennings this very simple question. Let's talk about Maxwell for a moment, real quickly here. Can somebody please explain to me why Maxwell is getting VIP treatment in jail? She was convicted on a 20-year sentence to being one of the biggest traffickers in American history. She's allowed a dog. They make personalized food sent to her cell. She's allowed guests. Those guests receive snacks. She gets preferential treatment. She's allowed to use laptops. She's allowed to go outside and play tennis whenever she wants to. She has a security guard walking with her to work out at night when she wants to. Why are they giving her that sort of preferential treatment? Can any MAGA Republican please answer that for me? Why? Please, I'm looking for an answer. Any Trump supporters out there, can you please answer that question? Why is Maxwell getting preferential treatment behind bars? And when I mean preferential treatment, I'm not talking about cigarettes. I'm not talking about, maybe a TV. No, I'm talking about VIP treatment, like staying at some sort of 5-star hotel. She's allowed a pet. Can you tell me in the history of this country when someone gets a 20-year sentence and they're allowed a pet and they're allowed to go out with a security guard and work out whenever they want, play tennis, use of laptops? Can you tell me this? Ladies and gentlemen, this is unprecedented for this kind of crime. I personally believe that Maxwell is going to be pardoned. I've been saying that for a long time. Now, it might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. But I do believe before Donald Trump leaves office, which hopefully he does, that Maxwell will be pardoned. And I'm wondering what your excuses will be there. Let me tell you something. Everything that you guys claim that you represent, going against child traffickers, which I'm with you. I agree with you. Any sort of serious crime like that, I'm with you. You still support Donald Trump, you have zero credibility. I keep saying that over and over again. You don't. And if you're saying, well, Brian, you don't know what you're talking about, Brian. Again, I ask you this very simple question. Why is the Trump administration working with the warden there, giving Maxwell beyond preferential treatment? Why are other inmates being threatened, we know this for sure, if they speak to her, if they speak negatively about her, if they release any information to the media? Why is the Trump administration doing this? Now, I think if you have an IQ over 20, you probably would know the answer to that. It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to stop talking about this. I'm going to talk about it every day. Donald Trump doesn't want us talking about it. He called his own supporters stupid for even bringing up Jeffrey Epstein. I've interviewed Jeffrey Epstein's brother on this show multiple times. He did not take his own life. I can assure you of that. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, they know the truth. And Dan Bongino on his show every day talked about the Epstein files and how they should be released. But now all of a sudden he's working in the Trump administration. Shh. They go hush. They don't want you to talk about it. They say case closed. They don't want justice for the victims. Why? Why is that? I think we know the answer. A guy by the name of Donald J. Trump, who was once best friends with Epstein, we know. This is a massive cover-up. And I got to give Stephanie Miller a lot of credit. And I'm actually a fan of Stephanie Miller. I think she does a really good job. And I appreciate the fact that she's willing to go on Dad Bod's show, Sean Hannity, another buffoon on the far right. This is a hilarious moment on Sean Hannity's show last night. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to watch this, but it really is awesome. So Sean Hannity continues to talk about Joe Biden and his mental capacity, or lack thereof. They continue to talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They don't want to talk about what's going on in this country right now. They don't want to talk about inflation, up for the 5th month straight. They don't want to talk about the economy tanking. They don't want to talk about the fact that we're headed towards a recession. They don't want to talk about the fact that many MAGA voted America first, and it seems like it's actually America last. They don't want to talk about all Donald Trump's failings and the fact that his approval numbers are somewhere around 37% or lower. Sean Hannity doesn't want to talk about any of that stuff or Jeffrey Epstein. But he wants to ask Stephanie Miller about Joe Biden's competency. And I love how Stephanie Miller just completely flips the script. Have a listen to this.
Because you're anything but. All right, so I do have a question. I tried to get an answer out of you on radio. Okay, the question is, when did you notice Joe Biden's cognitive decline? And don't change the subject and deflect. When did you really notice it?
Well, I think it was through all of the times that Donald Trump has fallen asleep in public and talked about, magnets getting wet in the last few,
gosh.
My mom had dementia, so I recognize it.
Stephanie, this is not, it's a very good deflection. You're a professional.
You know what else is
shows.
great
You're
about
Biden's
decline is that Trump is all over the Epstein files, and I'm wondering if they're going to release those. Are you covering that tonight?
Not really, because the woman that apparently they're talking about is the one that said he was a gentleman and never did anything wrong. And the person that had a grudge was the guy that got thrown out of Mar-a-Lago 25 years ago. And by the way, when you get thrown out of a club in Palm Beach, Florida, that's kind of a big deal. And it's very humiliating and embarrassing. And he was a convicted pedophile. So I'm not exactly putting a lot of gospel truth in what he said.
Trump was mad that he was stealing his girls, but
Yeah. Ask about Joe Biden's decline. By the way, great job, Stephanie Miller. That's the way you got to handle these right-wing boobs. Are you covering the Epstein stuff today, or do you want to talk about Joe Biden's competence? He's not the president anymore. Are you covering Epstein? Not really. Not really. You stupid buffoon, you. Speaking of stupid buffoons, let's talk a little bit about Senator John Fetterman. And I'll be the first one to admit I was dead wrong about him. After he had his stroke, many people were on his side. I didn't know a lot about him, but I hope that he made a full recovery. Obviously, I didn't want Dr. Oz to win. Now he's even in a more powerful position now, sadly. But I was pulling for John Fetterman. I didn't know a lot about him. I know he came from a wealthy family. Yes, I don't like the way he dresses. But I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Since then, he's completely lost his mind. He voted with the GOP to open up and get out of this shutdown for the wrong reasons. And he's not a Democrat. Let's just call Fetterman what he is. He's a MAGA Trumper. He is now in a Pittsburgh hospital, apparently after he fell during an early morning walk near his home earlier today in Pennsylvania. He had some sort of flare-up, and he was feeling lightheaded, falling to the ground and hitting his face. Now, I don't wish physical harm or any harm among anybody. However, I don't think he should be able to get his medical benefits. I believe he should have to pay out of pocket, he and his family. Why do I say that? Because Fetterman is the guy who voted for this GOP bill that is going to take Medicaid away from millions of his own constituents who voted for him. I'm sorry. I don't think Fetterman should be allowed to be in the hospital unless he forks up cash. Why do I say that? Because he's the one who voted for this. I don't believe Fetterman should get any benefits at all. And I believe he should have to pay out of pocket. And I believe for any Democrat that voted for this GOP package, including everybody in the GOP, they should have to pay their own way. Now, some of you might be saying, Brian, that's wrong. Brian, that's terrible. That's wrong. No, it's not. If you vote to take food stamps off the table, then you should starve yourself. If you vote to take 20 million people off of Medicaid, then you shouldn't be allowed to have health care benefits. If you're part of the problem and why there's a shutdown, then you shouldn't be able to get a paycheck. I'm wondering how long that shutdown would have lasted with these Democrat cowards, these 8 of them or 7 of them, if they weren't getting a paycheck during a government shutdown. You see, politicians are still allowed to get their paycheck. For 8 weeks, Republicans were on paid vacation. I guarantee you they wouldn't be on vacation if they weren't receiving their paychecks. I guarantee you Fetterman would not have voted with the GOP if he was told if he goes back to the hospital, he has to pay out of pocket. To each their own, ladies and gentlemen, to each their own. Now, I'm not rooting for John Fetterman to get sick. I'm not rooting for John Fetterman to not be able to get the care that he wants, but we know that John Fetterman is a man with money. His family has millions. I don't believe Fetterman should be able to have benefits, and I think they should be stripped away from him and any other Democrat that voted with the GOP. That's my personal opinion. So we are going to open up the phone lines right now, and I love it when MAGA callers call in and state their case. We've talked about a lot of issues today. We've talked about Jeffrey Epstein. We've talked about and played audio of Republicans lying. They're lying about inflation, saying that inflation continuing to fall, which is a blatant lie. We are headed towards a recession. We heard Brooke Rollins say the Republicans are working 20 to 22 hours a day. The lies continue to come in, and Scott Jennings and many MAGA Republicans making excuses for Donald Trump when we know he's all over the Epstein files. So we're taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, one of the most interactive shows you will find all around, 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-SAVE. Our lines are usually full. We have a few lines open right now, so now's the time to call. If you're a MAGA caller, you will get preferential treatment, maybe just like Maxwell is. Now, I won't be able to give you a dog. I won't be able to send food to your home, but I will take your call first. So if you'd like to have an all-out debate discussion with me on why you feel sympathy for John Fetterman, or you think Eric Trump is in the right, talking about $500 million Bitcoin transactions that he thinks a lot of Americans are making in the middle of the night, if you think the country is headed in the right direction, and you think Donald Trump has nothing to do with these Epstein files, I'm going to ask you this question, and I ask you to call in. Why is Maxwell getting preferential treatment? It's a very simple question. Why is Maxwell getting preferential treatment because of the Trump administration? Why? Why are they doing that? I would ask any of you Trump MAGA supporters to call in, and please give me an explanation to that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds with your phone calls. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a
right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Man, I feel like this week is kind of flying by. A lot of topics that we've been discussing, obviously talking about new Epstein revelations. We've been talking about that and how Republicans continue to curl themselves into a MAGA pretzel, which I find quite ironic. So we're talking about that and the shameless lies by MAGA Republicans. And, you know, that's why I always welcome MAGA supporters to call into the show and tell me why you think I'm wrong. Doesn't always work out very well for you guys. I do want to go to the YouTube super chat, if I may, before we take those phone calls. And again, that number 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Lori with a very generous donation. Excuse me. Lori says, so now we know what Putin has on Trump by the email that was released. Now they want to charge President Obama and others on Russia interference in Florida with the MAGA judge to convicted them. Yeah, well, Lori, you're right. Obviously, there's a lot of corruption, and we knew this, though, right? We knew this going into it. The other disgusted veteran says, is why people have religion and become atheists. I can't believe I know their Bible better than they do. Well, Donald Trump does claim, my friend, that the Bible is his favorite book, right? He has said that a lot, and he can't name one verse in the book. So, yes, he is an absolute liar. I completely agree with that. Anybody else, your questions and comments can be read live in the YouTube super chat. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. And I ask all of you Trumpers out there, why is Maxwell getting preferential treatment from the Trump administration? The number to call if you want to be a part of the program is 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of a live political debate radio talk show and have a debate with me, who is an anti-Trumper. I think the only person who dislikes Donald Trump more than I do is Melania Trump. 702-221-SAVE. All right, let's start off with Casey, who's starting the program. Hello, Casey.
Hey, nice to talk to you again. Hey, B, I got a couple, I want to make a couple points real quick. I'm glad they're releasing this, and I'm glad that people are going to the mat, and stuff. But what I'm worried about, and I think I'm right about this. I believe even it goes to the Senate of releasing the files. Can't Trump veto against it? I believe, like he's got to sign. Doesn't he have to sign off on it?
My understanding is that is correct. Yes.
So what do you? If you're Trump, Brian, all right, and do you think he'd really freaking? Do you really think that he would? You think he would block it?
I would say that I believe Donald Trump is capable of doing anything. Now, he's certainly not capable of doing a push-up. He's certainly not capable of swinging a golf club well. He's certainly not capable of lasting more than 13 seconds with Stormy Daniels. But in all seriousness, because we're talking about some serious topics here, as far as doing things that are detrimental to the American people, yes, the answer is yes. I think he is possible, and he absolutely is someone who is such a scumbag and such a horrible human being and has no regard or respect for the law. Yes, I think he's capable of doing anything.
Okay, suppose it does happen, Brian. Suppose it does happen. Where do we go? Okay, so let's say you have the survivors or the witnesses with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's supposed to release the names on the floor. Whatever happened to that? You know what I'm saying? Like she was champion.
Here's my understanding. Yeah, here's my understanding of that before this vote happens, and I hope it happens sooner than later. Here's my understanding, and this is from what I've heard from some pretty good sources. I do know some people on the far right pretty well. Here's what they've told me. They believe that they've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they cannot convince her. She's already, she will not be convinced. So they know that they've lost her vote on this. They're trying to coax Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert. I believe they strong-armed them yesterday. I believe they threatened them yesterday. And make no mistake about it, the Democrats need Lauren Boebert. They need Nancy Mace with this vote. And I'm afraid they're going to buckle for Orange Man. That's my understanding of where we're at right now.
All right, so how do we? Okay, so I don't know. Let's just say things fall apart. It's not going to go away, is it, Brian?
It only goes away if we allow it to go away, right? It only goes away. Listen, I don't trust the media, but I think independent media, it only goes away when we allow it to go away. We cannot allow it to go away. I'm going to continue to talk about it every day. We know Donald Trump is in there. We know what he did. And all this talk for years about how Republicans cared so much about this child trafficking and all these issues, and now they're defending this guy. They have zero credibility. Zero. Thank you for the call, my friend. 702-221-7283. And again, that number is 702-221-SAVE. If you're a Trump supporter, you're welcome to call in, and I would love to have that conversation with you on why you continue to defend this guy. Let's go to Peter. Peter's next up on PTL. What's up, Peter?
Hey, Brian. I couldn't call the last couple of days, so I have a quick two-part question about the Tim Pool event, if that's okay.
Okay.
Was this the first time you've been assaulted in such a setting? And earlier in the debate, Tim Pool had said he had the left sitting on the left because he didn't want you guys hitting anybody. How stupid does what happened to you make him sound after saying that?
Well, I don't blame Tim Pool. Tim Pool did say that. And by the way, just to clear some things up for everybody, I was going to play clips of the show. It's a 2-hour show. I put up one clip of me going at Myron Gaines, and Tim Pool's people are like, hey, hold off till Friday because that's when they're airing it. So I will be playing clips my entire show tomorrow. I'm going to be playing clips from that event, just so you know. That's why I couldn't play it today. Yes, Tim Pool did say that. I thought it was hyperbole and he was joking around because in no way, shape, or form did I ever feel threatened. So to answer your question, no. I've never been assaulted at a political event before. This would be the first time for me. Number two, the guy who assaulted me actually got up to speak for a few minutes, and it didn't go very well for him, so I thought his feelings were hurt. I'm probably going to play that tomorrow as well. Number three, I think the mistake that I made, and I wasn't really thinking about it because, Myron and Alex Stein after the show said, hey, let's go back out there and let's just take some pictures with people, fans and stuff. I said, sure. And I wasn't, 99%, there were a few people in the crowd that were on my side, but 99% of those people were Myron supporters, Alex Stein supporters, Tim Pool supporters. So obviously they disagree with my politics. So it didn't really occur to me, hey, I should probably have one of these security guards come out with me because I didn't think that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And you know what? When I went out there, for the first 5 minutes, I met a lot of Trumpers there that were very nice. It's the biggest compliment you could give me. If somebody that likes my show, is on my side, comes up to me, I appreciate that. It's very nice. But the biggest compliment is when you have a Trumper come up to me. And I had about a dozen Trumpers come up to me after the show. They shook my hand and they all kind of said the same thing. It was like, hey, man, I disagree with everything you say, but I got to say, I respect you being here and you did a really good job and it was fun. And they shook my hand and they took a picture with me. I even signed a couple MAGA hats, believe it or not. But they were very nice. They were very nice. And I said, listen, man, that's what it's all about. Disagree with somebody, but go into the lion's den and have that debate or whatever you want to call it. And I told them, I said, this is probably, the best compliment you could give me. And I appreciate that. And then all of a sudden this jackass comes up to me, and I talked about it on the air on Monday. This jackass comes up to me and assaults me, and nobody was hurt. Complete pansy. And then I kind of strong-armed him. People don't understand this, but I sent him a DM and I said, if you don't publicly apologize for what you did, I'm going to press charges. So then he sent me a half-hearted excuse, and I think I posted it on my social media. He said somebody pushed himself into me, which, by the way, is a lie. You know what that's like saying? You cheated on your wife, and you tell your wife somebody pushed me into this woman. I mean, it's the same. Yeah, exactly, right? It's the exact same thing. It was so stupid. So I sent him another DM, and I said, if you don't give a real apology, I'm going to press charges. And by the way, I still might do it. I have up to a year. He gave a half-hearted apology. He's a complete buffoon. But anyway, I know that was kind of long-winded, but that's the entirety of the story. And next time I do an event like that, I'm going to make sure that one of Tim Pool's security guards come out with me when I greet the fans to make sure something like that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that environment was super hostile during the debate. You're great from the clips I've seen. And
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I was called a lot of homophobic slurs, anti-Semitic stuff, and I pushed back at them. I mean, there was a point, and I'm going to play some of this stuff tomorrow because it's mesmerizing. But there was a point in there where we were talking about dating in the moderate age, right? And I said, listen, I could date somebody that voted for Trump as long as they admit that Trump is a really bad guy, right? As long as they know that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, right? And then I had a bunch of people that booed and said Trump won. And I looked at them and I said, wow, I didn't know we had a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists in the crowd. Like, it was mesmerizing how stupid some of these people are, right? Really stupid people. And there were people in the crowd that were respectful too, but there were a lot of people when I made a good point, and you'll hear this tomorrow, when I make a good point or a counter argument, for example, Tim Pool was talking about trans. Tim's kind of obsessed with trans people, as many people on the right are. And I've told Tim that.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about a story about how a trans woman who was a teacher had her boobs exposed. Obviously inappropriate for kids. But I looked at him and I said, what does it matter if you're trans or you're not trans? That's inappropriate for any teacher to dress like that. That's the point that I was trying to make to him. And, you know, it's the whole thing of teachers are indoctrinating our kids, right? I'm so sick of idiots on the right saying that. There's over 300,000 teachers in this country, and the overwhelming amount of them are not indoctrinating. And the point that I tried to make is when you say it's okay to be gay, or you say it's okay to be trans, that's not indoctrinating people. And then, you know what? The next point I made was, can you give me any example of an opinion where you think a child was indoctrinated and it cost them their life? Because I could give you many examples of how we don't have enough strong laws on the books when it comes to weapons and people that bring weapons into schools, and our kids are decapitated. But they didn't want to talk about that. They want to talk about some random trans woman who had her boobs exposed. Last I checked, no child had to go to the hospital. No child was injured. And they actually think that our children are turning gay or turning trans because a teacher tells them to. Let me tell you something. You have to be a certain type of stupid individual to think that that's how this works. And then there was a guy that came up there and he thinks that being gay is a choice. And I said, are you mean to tell me that Richard Simmons was born straight? These people are so stupid. They have no idea what they're talking about. And usually the people that are the loudest talking about children being indoctrinated are people that don't have kids. So you're going to hear all of that tomorrow. I was, you know, there are some times that I'm not very happy with my performance. Not to be, you know, Donald Trump every time he's with a woman. I'm sure nobody's happy with his performance. But, you know, last time I did the Piers Morgan show, and by the way, they asked me to do the Piers Morgan show yesterday. I was sleeping when they asked me to do it. But the last time I went on the Piers Morgan show, I was not happy with my performance. I thought I could have done better when I was going after Riley Gaines. But I can tell you, I am A+, very happy with my performance under very difficult circumstances. I'm very happy with what I did. And it was about time somebody told off Myron Gaines, who I think is a despicable human being, by the way.
For sure. It was like Kobe going into Boston. Appreciate you, Brian.
Well, I appreciate that. I like that basketball reference. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the call. I'm going to be playing some excerpts from that show tomorrow. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. Number to call is 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. If you're a Trump supporter, you're welcome to call in. We're talking about the Epstein revelations. We're talking about MAGA Republicans continuing to lie, saying that everything is hunky-dory with the economy when we know that is also not true. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Paul. Paul from the UK. Paul, what's going on, man?
Hi there, Brian. Thanks for taking the call. I just wanted to just something that was said before about Trump vetoing the bill, the Epstein, if it goes through. My understanding, and obviously I'm English, but my understanding is if both houses vote 66% and have a quorum, he can't veto it. That's my understanding.
I'm going to have to take a look at that. I hope that's the case. I hope you're right. I hope that's the case. I'm going to have to do some research and look into that, but I certainly don't doubt that.
Yes, that's my understanding. And also, the stuff he's doing with Boba doesn't matter now that this new Congress person has signed the petition. The vote has to happen.
So what do you think they were?
Have to happen.
So Paul, what do you think they were talking about then behind closed doors with Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert? What do you think they were talking about?
We know what he was talking about. I mean, we're not all MAGA fools. We all know what he was talking about.
Sure.
You know, I suppose with a few hours left to go, he was just hoping to get their names off, get them to change. Obviously, he was talking about that. It's ridiculous. Of course, he was talking about that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you at all. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Do you think eventually the files will be released? What are your opinions on that?
Well, even the stuff that's coming out now, Brian, even the stuff that's being released from the Epstein estate, those emails. I heard, I listened to Midas Touch, Ben Marcellus, and there's new stuff coming out. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
It's terrible already. It's terrible.
It is.
You know, the stuff that came out that Epstein was giving dirt to the Russians just before Helsinki on Trump. He was giving dirt to the Russians just before that Helsinki debacle. And then Trump comes out and does that support Putin thing. I mean, it's so shocking.
It's shocking, but at the same time, it's like every single day there's a new controversy. Every single day it's something new with the Trump administration. Every single day, and it sometimes it's extremely hard to follow. But it's like I use this term all the time when I describe MAGA Republicans, which is hypocrites, right? The hypocrisy of it all, where they'll talk about America first and America first agenda. Yet what Donald Trump is doing and saying is the opposite of that. They'll talk about how horrible, child trafficking is. And then they'll support a guy like Donald Trump and curl into a pretzel. They have absolutely no credibility at all.
None whatsoever. In that interview he did with Laura Ingraham, of all people, which she had to actually do a semi-proper interview with him.
Right, that's
when
true.
He was talking about the what they call the visas, the H-1 visas, whatever they are, completely opposite to MAGA racist philosophy. He's basically turned MAGA on its head.
You're right.
When he said, "Oh no, we need to get lots of these Chinese students in. We need to get 600,000."
We don't have enough talented people in America. I don't think that's an America first agenda. Do you?
It's beyond belief.
It really is incredible.
Beyond belief how they then have to defend. They have to play now. Laura Ingram's playing defense for him again.
I got to say this: Laura Ingraham, I think, did a better job of pressing him than those on CBS did. It really is. It's sad but true. Laura Ingraham, the evil witch herself, did a better job in pressing Trump than some people on some would call left-leaning organizations. And it's like they're scared. I don't understand it.
No, I don't understand how inept the press is, how weak the press are. The fact they will never just do a simple follow-up question, which everybody who's watching, whether you're in England here or in America there, wants to be asked. Ask him that bloody question.
Do you disagree?
Like when he said he can reduce the price of drugs by 6%. Sorry, Brian,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, apparently if we go pick up prescription medication, we're going to, be able to pay our rent just by picking up medication. But do you disagree with me when I say that Senator John Fetterman should have to pay his own health care bill? He should have to pay his own way. The guy's loaded.
Brian, I used to listen to Fetterman. Before the stroke, he was great. He was great. He used to stand up to Trump. He reminded me a bit of that police officer, the one who's the really great police officer who was badly hurt and speaks his mind. And he was great, Fetterman. He's like he had a complete personality change.
Yeah.
He got turned into a MAGA almost. I think he should. I agree with you. Of course he should pay. It's unbelievable that he voted with them.
I think John Fetterman is a despicable, two-faced phony, and I wish him nothing but the worst. I'm sorry. I've had it with him. Paul, it's always good to hear from you, my friend. I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the call.
You got it. You got it. Thank you, Paul. One of my favorite callers. By the way, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, MAGA people are always welcome. Always welcome to have a debate with me. I think I'm going to start a Rumble channel, so we can get some of those flaky, angry, white anger Republican MAGA supporters to call into the show. But yes, I do think Donald Trump this is a huge cover up with Epstein. I've been saying that for a very, very long time. If you disagree with me, I'd love for you to call in and tell me why. And do you think the economy is headed in the right direction? I would definitely disagree with you on that if you do, but you're welcome to call in. The number area code 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. I think the longer I do this show and the more popular it gets, the less likely it is for MAGA people to have debates with me. And it's not because they don't think I have credibility. It's not because they don't think I do my homework. It's not because they don't think I'm intelligent. It's because they're afraid and they're scared. I think they call it yellow. Isn't that what Michael J. Fox said in Back to the Future 2? I think that was what it was, right? With Biff. Yellow. Or was that Biff that called him yellow? I'm trying to remember. What did you call me? Yeah, I remember that. I was watching it on the plane on the way back. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to John. John is next up on PTL. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up, young man? How you doing?
What's up? What's on your mind?
No, not much. I was just calling into I heard you say a couple things recently. I hardly ever listen to talk shows. I'm busy working, cleaning pools out here in Vegas. I just turn it on because it's like a sports station too. But anyway, I heard you say something about teachers aren't indoctrinating kids into the trans movement. Wanting to be trans.
I don't think so.
Where are they learning that from then? Because as a kid, you're going to go along with what you learn. So where are they learning all this from?
Perhaps their family. I don't know. I think it's a case-by-case basis. The idea that Republicans are saying, my friend, that they're being indoctrinated, meaning if a teacher says it's okay to be trans, that the idea that a child is coming home another gender is absurd. That's the point that I'm trying to make. There's nothing wrong with a teacher saying it's okay to be transgender. There's nothing wrong with a teacher saying it's okay to be gay. Do you have a problem with that?
No. I don't have a problem with nothing. I love everybody, and I've been here a long time.
Okay, I'm glad you're like that. I'm glad you're like that, but I don't think a lot of people on the right are. That's my personal opinion.
Well, no, you're right. I'm not on the right or the left.
Understood.
I don't pay attention to politicians.
Yeah,
I know what they're about.
All right, but hear me out, my friend. Okay, I appreciate that. Hear me out. I don't think that children are coming home and getting all the details of what it's like to have a transgender surgery. What I do think is that there are probably certain situations where they'll come home and they'll say, what does it mean to be transgender? And guess what? I think that's a positive. Sure. I think that's a good thing, because there are transgender people in society, and I'd rather them understand what it is without going into all the specifics. I'd rather them know what it is at a younger age than to not know what it is when they get to 15 or 16 years old and then treat those people badly. And I think it's important for kids to be educated on that topic. That's my personal opinion. Would you agree with that?
I agree. No, of course. I mean, they got to learn. I was just wondering why there was such a rash of it in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years. All these weird things, kind of like, I'm not saying it's weird, because everybody's what they are, and I'm no better than anybody. But, all these things that are completely different.
So let me ask. I spoke about this last week. Here's my theory on this, okay, of what you're talking about right now. Here's my theory.
All right.
There's a lot of people many years ago that wanted to be trans. Maybe some of them were trans. Maybe some of them were afraid to be trans because it wasn't as socially acceptable now as it was back then. I would say the same thing about people who are gay.
Sure.
Candace Owens always makes the statement. Candace Owens is one of the worst. She always makes the statement, why are there so many people coming out gay now? My response is because there's less bigots like you in society. And many people that happen to be gay feel more comfortable coming out now than they did decades ago. I wish Myron Gaines would do the same, but that's another story for another show. That's my opinion. It's not that more people are gay. It's not that more people are trans. It's that they feel more comfortable because it's more socially acceptable. We still have a long way to go with these MAGA Republicans, but that's my personal opinion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, of course. It definitely makes perfect sense. When I was a youngster, I'm 61, I was kind of 16 in 1980. I grew up in the 80s and 90s in Chicago, and I knew a lot of gay people, and I grew up like in an artsy neighborhood, and I knew a lot of gay people. They were all real cool. There was a few trans here and there, but like you said, they're coming out a lot more. I agree with that nowadays, because
I don't understand, though. I don't understand, and maybe this is the way I was raised. Maybe you can help me out with this. I don't understand how anybody can take an entire group of people and treat them horribly because they might have a different sexuality or they might have a different skin color. Like, I don't understand that mentality of these bigots in society. And so it's not that every person who voted for Donald Trump is a bigot, but I do believe every bigot voted for Donald Trump. I really do feel that way.
Well, in life myself, I just like cool people. I don't care what race, what religion, what you do. If you're a cool person, you like to help others, help animals, things like that. You got a good heart and soul.
Sure.
That's all I care about.
Can I ask you, my friend, because you sound like a level-headed, smart guy, who did you vote for in 2024, if you don't mind me asking?
I didn't vote, to be honest with you. I didn't vote.
I hate to say this, but that's part of the reason why Trump was elected. And I'm not trying to be tough on you, because I appreciate your honesty. But I think there were a lot of people like you that are decent people that decided not to vote. And I think that's one of the main reasons why Trump got elected.
You're probably right. I can't bring myself to vote for these people because.
Can I ask you?
In my opinion.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, being a politician is just like joining the mob. When you sign up for that, what you're getting into.
It's you're
not going to do people right.
I think that's general. I think that's a general thing to say. But let me ask you this: if the elections were tomorrow and it was Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance, who do you vote for?
God, I don't know if I could vote for either one of them people with a clear conscience.
Can I ask you if Kamala Harris won, would we see these tariffs that are putting us into a recession?
I don't know. It would have been a whole different ballgame, but
you don't.
I don't
Wait,
know.
hold on. Help me understand. You think if Kamala Harris won, there'd be a chance that she would be doing what Donald Trump is doing with these tariffs?
No.
Okay,
no,
thank you.
not at all.
Okay, let me ask you. Thank you. I agree.
Oh, you said terrorist.
Yeah, tariffs.
I thought you said terrorist.
No,
sorry.
no, that's okay. I was confused by your answer. Now I understand. If Kamala Harris was voted in office, do you believe that our citizens would be kidnapped on the streets and people would be deported? Nonviolent criminals would be sent to El Salvador prisons if Kamala Harris won?
No,
Okay.
they would have.
Agree.
Immigration wouldn't have even been approached.
I agree. If we I agree with you. If we had a big and do you think if Kamala Harris won, we would have this big and beautiful bill where over 20 million people would lose their health care?
No.
And, okay, the answer is no. Then why not say maybe you made a mistake?
Well, yeah, I probably did because I don't like the direction the country's going in.
Okay, then why not? But
look good to me.
name me something different that J.D. Vance would do that Donald Trump is doing now. Why would you struggle? I'm not saying Gavin Newsom is perfect. He's not. But you're saying if it was Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance, which is furthering the MAGA, revolution or whatever the hell you want to call it, you wouldn't be able to make the decision that even though you might not be a Gavin Newsom fan, you wouldn't vote still?
Oh man, I can't lie to you. I can't, like I said, I can't bring myself to vote for any of these people.
What is it about Gavin Newsom?
I know what they are.
What is it about Kamala Harris that you maybe hate is a strong word? What was it about?
I don't hate it. No.
So what was it about her?
I don't hate anybody or anything, but I can see. I see what they try to do in this country.
What has Kamala done? What has she done? Be specific. What was it about Kamala Harris that you said I can't vote for her? Help me understand.
Nothing really. I don't. I just like I said.
Come on. Wait. Hold on. Help me. You seem like a really nice guy. You just said you can't really think of anything of Kamala that would lead you to believe that she's bad or. So why? I'm just confused. Then why didn't you vote for her? You know who Donald Trump is. We agree. Why couldn't you vote for her? I don't understand.
I just don't pay attention to.
You don't pay attention.
Political
so don't you think?
So like I said,
don't you think you should now?
I know what these people are.
Well, tell me who is. Oh, tell me. What has Kamala Harris done for years? What has she done? Help me understand.
I might have read an article one time where she was. I can't really remember the exact article I read. Something about she wasn't doing somebody right. I'm trying to think of what it was. I can't even.
So you read a random. You read a random article, and it was so important that you didn't vote for her, and you don't remember. I'm trying to be respectful because I think you're a nice guy. You read an article, a random article. You're saying that she did somebody wrong.
She was doing some people wrong while she was
doing some people.
What was her old?
She was the attorney.
Job?
She was the attorney general, and she was a senator.
Yeah, she was putting some people in jail or something that weren't supposed to.
So you're. Okay. So
that's all. No, it's just that my whole thing is I really don't pay attention to.
What's wrong with putting people in jail? What's wrong with putting people in jail if they committed crimes? I don't understand. That's what she did. That was her job.
That particular article I read, it was saying she was putting people in jail for things that.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What do you think is? By the way, that's fake news. You're talking about marijuana, and in those cases, there were about 16 people. And with those cases that you were referring to, MAGA Republicans were trying to make it out like she was too tough on crime. What would you rather have? Somebody who puts somebody in jail on those types of charges, or somebody that I don't know, calls someone a hostage and a patriot who beats police officers on January 6th? What do you think is more serious?
I would like to have somebody in office that really cared about others.
What makes you think that Kamala Harris did? That's what I'm trying to understand. I want to learn from you. What is it that Kamala Harris did that would lead you to believe that she doesn't, quote, care about others? I'm trying to understand why you would say that about her. Help me understand.
I'm not saying that about her. No.
So why didn't you vote? So if you don't feel that about her, then why didn't you vote for her? I don't understand. If you're saying you weren't informed, okay, fine. I'm sorry to hear that. I wish you did vote for her, but what was it about her? I just don't understand. You're saying you read some sort of random article, which was, I'm sure, filled with lies about her putting people in jail, which is, by the way, her job as attorney general for people that break the law. But like, I'm trying to understand, you have a guy that is an adjudicated abuser who's thousands of discrimination lawsuits, had to pay out.
Yeah, he's insane. I know.
I know, but I agree, but you wouldn't call Kamala insane, right? She's an accomplished woman.
She was a little. I mean, they're all, to me, all these people. Like I said, when you get that job, you know what you're signing up for, and you're not signing up.
All right,
to do
so you're
good.
making a generalization that they're all the same. Let me ask you another question.
Pretty much.
Has Kamala Harris ever been is an adjudicated abuser? Has anyone ever accused her of a crime? Has she ever been charged with a crime?
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so? No, she wasn't. She wasn't. She's never been convicted or charged with a crime in her life. In her life. Have any of her businesses filed for bankruptcy? I don't know. You tell me.
I have no idea.
Okay, no, the answer is no. Their answer is no. Did Kamala Harris come from an extremely wealthy family, and was she given a $500 million company from her father? Was she
Probably
born?
not.
No, the answer is no. She wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She's a woman of color who worked really hard, who passed the bar, who became a duly elected attorney general, and also became a senator. I don't think there are any. Let me be clear here. I don't think there is any comparison between a good mother, a good wife, a hardworking woman who I believe does care about America. Comparing that to Donald Trump, I don't think. Name me one comparison they both have. Has she had any scandal in her life? Has she ever broken the law? Name me one thing that you think that she has in common with Donald Trump, because you made the comparison that they're very similar, and I'm trying to understand. You're claiming you didn't vote for her, my friend, because you read some random article that maybe she put too many people in jail, which I would love to hear what that article entails, because I don't think it's true. But regardless of that, what does Kamala Harris have in common with Donald Trump? Name me one thing.
Well, I didn't say they have anything in common. What I'm saying is these politicians, when they first start out, they might go into the job thinking they're going to do some good for people. Once that money starts rolling, they're not doing anything for anybody, and that's obvious.
You don't think Kamala did anything for? You don't think Kamala did anything for America when she was vice president?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know if she did any good for America. I don't see any of these people really doing much good for the regular American people. They do a lot of good for the filthy rich people.
You don't think?
About all I see.
Who do you think is more for the rich, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Like, who do you think did more for the rich?
Well, obviously, the Republicans.
Okay, I agree.
Their whole life
how about Obamacare? How about raising minimum wage? How about the CHIPS and Science Act? How about the infrastructure bill? How about debt consolidation or debt relief for people that graduated from college? You do realize Joe Biden did that, and Kamala Harris was the vice president. She certainly supported it.
Well, that was a nice. I mean, like I said, that was definitely a nice thing to help the.
Okay, so you would agree that sometimes politicians do things to help people.
Well,
yeah,
once in a while.
Once in a while,
they do. But from what I've seen, you know, the debt's $38 trillion. Somebody got to be.
Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion. Do you know how much money Joe Biden got us in debt?
How much?
Less than half that.
Yeah, they're going nuts.
Donald Trump got us more in debt than Barack Obama 8 years in office. Do you know the last president that left us with a surplus? His name was Bill Clinton. I'm just trying to. I
know that.
Here's what I would ask of you, and you tell me if this is fair. Before the 2028 election, do your homework. I believe it will be Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance. While I am not an all-in Gavin guy, I would vote for Gavin Newsom in a heartbeat. Do you know why? Because the policies put forth by Gavin Newsom are not against middle-class America and those that are struggling. The policies put forth by J.D. Vance are similar policies that he will put forward that Donald Trump has already done, and it's damaging this country. So I would ask that you do your homework.
I agree.
And find out a little bit more about a candidate, not from some random article, because I think that's very dangerous. Anybody can write anything. People write things about me that are not true.
Oh, yeah. So much stuff is fake these days. You don't even know what you're reading. That's one of the big problems.
I can tell you right now, we wouldn't be headed towards a recession. Thousands and thousands of nonviolent criminals wouldn't be treated like animals and being deported. We wouldn't have to deal with these tariffs. and the country wouldn't be in the bad position that they are in, and troops wouldn't be called out to cities to attack American civilians if Kamala Harris had won. None of this stuff would have been happening. And I'm not saying she's perfect.
I agree.
I'm not saying she's perfect, and I'm not saying that everything would be hunky-dory, but the country would be in a much better position if Kamala Harris won, period.
I agree with you, because the country's definitely not in a good position right now.
So, do you think there's a chance after this conversation that if it is Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance, you might think twice and maybe you might consider voting for Gavin Newsom?
I'm going to have to look into everything.
Okay, look into everything.
Going now, we need a good change. We need someone in there that's going to work for the people and work to lower the debt, because
fair enough.
That's so out of control. What's going to happen in 10 years?
I don't disagree with you, but Donald Trump is giving $100 billion in tax breaks this year to the top 1%. Do you think that's going to help us? Okay, but Kamala, but this is the whole point of this call. Kamala wouldn't have done that. I agree with you. She campaigned on it. You think Gavin Newsom would give the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%? No, it'd be the opposite, my friend. It'd be the opposite.
Let me ask you a question. Real fast while we're on that subject. Why them top 1% of people that get them big tax breaks, with all the money they have, why don't they even accept that? Why don't they just pay their taxes?
Because they're selfish pricks. That's why. Because they only care about their own bottom line. The Jeff Bezoses of the world and others, they only care about themselves. And these are the people who support Donald Trump. I'm telling you right now, that's not the case. That's not the case. If Gavin Newsom becomes the president, he's not perfect. He's not going to give the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%. That's what Barack Obama talked about. It's what Joe Biden talked about. Everyone getting a fair share and a fair shot. That's where I agree with people on the left, and I completely disagree with Republicans. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the richest people in this country getting the big. I appreciate the call, my friend. I do. Promise me that you'll do a little bit more research than some random article. Promise me that you're going to find out the differences in policies between Gavin Newsom and our vice president. That's all I can ask. And I do appreciate the call, and I appreciate you calling in, my friend. Who are we going to next year? Let's go to Rebecca. Rebecca is next. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Brian. Love you so much.
Thank you.
To the guy who was just on the line with you, please listen to Brian's show every day. You're going to learn a lot. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I listen to him every day while I work, and this is how I get my news. And second of all, it's my understanding, and I think Paul from the UK touched on this, that yes, once Adelita Grajava signs the petition, it's a done deal.
Good.
So Beetlejuice and the other one, they can't redact their name. So we'll go to a vote.
So okay, I'm glad to hear that. But here's my question. Beetlejuice, I like that. Why are they speaking with them then? That's my question. If they knew that, which I would imagine they did going in, then why are they having private meetings with Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert? That's why I'm skeptical. Why would they do that if they knew it wouldn't do any good?
From what I read, that all happened yesterday, and it was right before Adelita signed the petition.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, it's going to be interesting.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure
that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I would have to think that Donald Trump is very worried about what's about to be unfolded and to the general public. And Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, and every one of these turds, and that's what they are, that have defended this guy. They're not going to be able to defend this anymore, in my personal opinion. I believe the goods are in there. Just from what we've seen from emails.
Has been missing. He hasn't posted in like 19 hours. Trump hasn't posted in 19 hours. They're scared.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Get the popcorn out. Listen, these victims deserve justice. I don't care if it's an R or a D next to their name. They deserve justice. And these that's what they are. These MAGA Republicans. They're pet enablers. They're defenders, and they have zero credibility. Thank you for your kind words, and I really do appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next up on PTL. Hi, Mike. What's going on?
Hey.
Yes. Hi, Mike.
Hey.
What's up?
Oh, Brian, is that you?
It is. Yours truly.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I wanted to talk about them voting on this this bill,
Yeah.
if it does pass both houses,
yeah.
From what I remember in my civics class, if Trump does veto it, Congress has the power to override it.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of messages on that as well, and I think you're right on that one. I think Donald Trump's in a lot of trouble, and I don't think he's going to be able to, pay his way out of this one. He's done it his entire life. Keep that in mind. He's had his way his entire life. He's had yes men and yes women around him his entire life. I don't think there's any way of getting around this, and these emails certainly don't help. I think he's scared. They don't know what to do, and thank God that there were a few Republicans that came up to the plate and hit a home run and want these files to be released, because without them, this wouldn't happen. Mike Johnson is going to have egg on his face once again. The files may be released, and then Mike Johnson will say, well, I don't know anything about that. I haven't read it yet. That's what he'll say.
Yeah. One other thing, yesterday when, who was it, lying Levitt?
Caroline Levitt. Yep, the liar Levitt. Yep.
Yeah, when she was talking about how these emails didn't, just prove that Trump did no wrong. Didn't she admit that Trump kicked out Epstein because he was a child?
Well, in a way, yes. And even Donald Trump has admitted that there was a young girl that was working at Mar-a-Lago, and that what ended their friendship was apparently Jeffrey Epstein took that girl working for him at an alleged spa. By the way, Epstein never owned a spa, and that ended their friendship. So yeah, you could take that for what it's worth, but all those revelations, I believe, are going to come out in the files. And every single MAGA moron who voted for this guy is going to have egg on their face. Thank you for the call, my friend. Let's go to Millie. Millie is next up on PTL. Is this General Millie? I don't know. That'd be great. Millie, what's going on?
Oh, hi. Hold on. Let me turn it down.
Sure.
So, I don't know what topic you're on now because I lost track while I was on hold. But
we've talked about a lot of different topics, but go ahead.
So, sometimes I think the chat just needs to bring down the temperature a little bit. But I don't know what kind of experiences a lot of these callers have when they call in. But for me, it's like, why wouldn't you expose yourself to the people that they're telling you are criminals, or they're the trans people who are ruining all of our stuff or whatever? Why wouldn't you expose yourself to different experiences so you could learn
because
for
they're bigots.
yourself?
Because they're bigots. I
understand that, Brian. You and I are from the same crowd.
Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic. These people are pathetic, and every single time there's a shooting or anything of that nature, it's almost like they hope that it's a trans person that did it. They're sick people. They're disgusting and sick people. Make no mistake about it. They want to ban books, and they think drag queens are the worst thing that can happen in society. But all the white supremacists who decided to storm the Capitol on January 6th and beat police officers, they're hostages and they're patriots. But if you have someone dressing in drag telling children, be who you are and be happy who you are, that gets them so angry and so upset. I mean, it just, listen,
And,
you can't speak
I'm
to
from
these people.
I'm from the LGBT community, so I feel like straight white men that are bashing gays and bashing transsexuals have had experiences with gays and transsexuals. They just don't want anybody to know about it.
You're not going to believe all the homophobic slurs that were thrown my way. Doesn't matter whether I'm straight or gay. I happen to be a straight man. I do like women, but it doesn't matter. All the homophobic slurs that were sent my way. You see, when you make a good point to these people, like, I'm sure you know who Mehdi Hassan is, right? Really smart guy.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yes,
so
I do.
listen. I get things wrong sometimes. About a year ago, I heard some of Mehdi Hassan's comments, and I thought he was anti-Semitic, and I've retracted that. And I said, listen, I was wrong. And Mehdi Hassan is an extremely intelligent person, and every single time he destroys these MAGAs with his brain because he's a very smart guy, and they have no retort. What do? They tell him that he should be deported and denaturalized. Because they're bigots.
They defer to two things. They defer to transsexuals and immigrants.
Yeah.
And they don't know anything about any of that.
So if I made a good point, which I think I made plenty of good points last week in D.C., they call me homophobic slurs. When Mehdi Hassan makes a great point, and he makes many of them, they tell him he should be deported, because these are people that are not very intelligent. And usually when you're a racist or you're homophobic and you have that kind of hate, it comes from ignorance. You have to be a very stupid person.
Ignorance and intelligence is two different things, because they may have the IQ, but they're choosing to be ignorant and choosing to be on the opposite side
I think
of
that
right.
could be. Yeah, that could be. I think a lot of people
Because
who are,
I've talked to a lot of MAGA people, and they seem pretty smart when you're talking to them. And, you know, they say all the right words.
There are some smart people
"Come
out
on,
there.
everybody, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so you want me to vote for your tax break, but you can't vote for me to have the right to be in existence.
Well,
in
they're
this
bad
world?
people. These people are bad people, and I think that's part of being a bigot. Is you certainly have to be a bad person. My dear, I really do appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. I think there are people out there that are bigots and racists, that are very ignorant, stupid people. And I think she's right. There are some people that could be intelligent people. They're just filled with hate. So I think it could be, you know, a mixture of the two in some situations. Let's see here. Who are we going to next here? Let's see. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas is next up on PTL. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Brian. This is Thomas, nostalgic developer. Hey, I'm just wondering if you got that email that I sent you about the Young Turks.
I'm glad to see, Thomas, that you're once again very much on topic, but I will respond to you anyway, even though, you know, we like to remain on topic on the show. So the guy that's calling into the show said that I called the Young Turks, in a general term, called them anti-Semitic. I asked him to send the clip. He sends the clip over to me. I called out the Young Turks, and then I mentioned Alex Jones's name, and I said anti-Semitic. Never in that clip that you sent me did I say the Young Turks are anti-Semitic. That was the deal that we had. I did not say that. I mentioned the Young Turks, and then in the middle of mentioning that, I mentioned Alex Jones, and I said anti-Semitic. So you're wrong, and I know you probably won't be a man and admit it. And I say it once again, I do believe Alex Jones is anti-Semitic. I think Alex Jones is a racist.
Yeah, I don't know why you brought up Alex Jones.
I brought up Alex Jones because the clip that you sent me, I said Alex Jones, and then I said anti-Semitic. What the hell is wrong with you? You sent me a clip, and it shows that you're an imbecile. You're an imbecile. You're an imbecile. Those are my words. I brought up the young. Hey, dummy! I brought up Young Turks. Hey, dummy! Shut up! You're wasting my time. You sent me the clip, and you specifically said I called the Young Turks anti-Semitic. To be clear, once again,
you can't spin this, Ryan.
Hey, pod this idiot down, you stupid moron. You sent me the clip, and in the clip I say the Young Turks, and then I mention Alex Jones before I say anti-Semitic. You're obviously an idiot, okay? You're wasting my time on the air. Why don't you just admit to everybody that you're anti-Semitic? What do you think about Israel? Tell us, what do you think about Israel? Let's see if we could have a.
You said the Young
Let's
Turks,
see. Are you willing to have a? Are you? Excuse me.
No.
What do you think about
That means
Israel?
both of them.
Why don't we expose you for who you are? What do you think about
What do I
Israeli
think of
people?
Israel? They are performing a genocide. I know you don't.
No.
think it's
I
genocide.
didn't say the Israeli government.
Even the IDF
Hey, dumbass.
is actually a
Hey,
genocide.
dumbass. Hey, dumbass. I need you to pay attention. I didn't say the Israeli government. I agree with you.
Oh, we love Israel.
You love
everybody
Israel.
should love Israel, of course.
Okay.
What do you think about Palestine?
Hold on a second. What do you think about Israel? Do you think it should exist?
Of course.
Okay, good. Well, guess what? The people on the Young Turks have made statements on their show that they think it's stolen land.
Well, then you haven't watched it in years.
And they don't think, oh, actually,
I've not heard that quote in 2 years.
Do you have his number? Because I have his number and I text him. Are you aware of that, sir?
No, I wish I had his number.
Yeah, I wish you did. You don't have any
love
number.
the guy.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure you do, sir. But you asked me what I think about Palestinians in what sense, sir?
Do you think they have a right to exist?
Yeah. Have I ever said anything? Would you like to lie again? Have I ever said anything to the contrary of that? Have I ever said
never
that?
said that you said
Oh,
anything
okay.
like that. I'm asking
Why would you ask me a stupid question that you think you're asking me if
Well,
I don't
because
think
everyone
a
says, what do you
group
think about Israel?
Okay,
Israel, Israel.
first of all, I'm not everyone.
How about the
I'm
state
not,
of Palestine?
I'm not.
Would you
I'm
like
not.
that?
I'm not everyone. So stop making generalizations. Number two, I'll answer your question and say I think everybody has the right to exist. I've said on this show before, clearly you say you listen to my show, but clearly you don't listen to what I say. As I've said, an innocent Palestinian child dying is just as bad as an innocent Israeli person losing his or her life. I've been very fair and very clear on that issue.
I know.
Okay,
Very good, Brian. Do you think that
so
they,
if you
that
know,
they have a right to their own land?
if you know, then why would you ask me my opinions on Palestinians? I just said yes. What is wrong with you?
Because Israel's doing an ethnic cleansing.
Okay,
and you seem to be okay with it?
so let's go into that for a moment. If you believe Israel is committing genocide, why do they allow right now, as we speak, millions of Palestinians to live a life of freedom in Israel. If they truly
Yeah,
were
well, it's a
committing,
low percentage.
no. First of all, that would be talking about the Holocaust. And if there were millions of Jewish people living in Germany and they were free, it would be the exact same thing. You obviously have no idea what you're talking about, okay? Now, if you think it's genocide, I really don't care what word you use to describe it. When you take an innocent person's life, it's absolutely atrocious and it's horrible. I am not a Benjamin Netanyahu fan. I am also not a fan of the Israeli government. I am very clear on that. And quite frankly, I don't care whether you think it's genocide or not. Is there anything else very productive or intelligent that you'd like to bring up on the show on a debate? Or would you like to continue to make yourself sound like the fool that you are?
You defended that it's not a genocide because they didn't use their nukes.
Excuse me. Did I bring up the word nukes in this conversation?
You did a couple days ago.
Okay, so here's why. First of all, you say the word defend because you're an imbecile. I will repeat myself once again. I do not defend the Israeli government. I believe Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. What part of that is defending? Would you like to change the wording that you're using?
You said you don't think it's a genocide because Israel hasn't used their nukes.
Here's why I do not think it's a genocide, and I will repeat myself once again, and please get the MAGA wax out of your ears. I know you claim I'm not a Trump supporter, but you certainly sound like one, sir. So I'll repeat myself once again to you. There are millions. Okay, just take a break with the Tucker Carlson laugh for a second and pay attention, okay, sir? I just said that millions of people are living in Israel. They are living in Israel.
We're not talking about Israel.
Okay, excuse me. What do you mean?
By the way.
What do you mean we're not talking about Israel? You just asked me if Israel was committing genocide, you dope. Okay, pay attention.
Yeah, in Gaza.
Okay, what about Gaza, sir? What is your question about Gaza? Go ahead. What is your question?
You don't think it's a genocide, and why?
You just said we're not talking about Israel, and now you're asking me if Israel's committing genocide. What? Get this idiot, get this moron off the show. You are such a dumbass. I can't even have a conversation with you. Oh, my God. Oh, these people are so stupid. Golly. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next up on PTL. What's up, Kim?
Hi, Brian.
What's up, Kim?
I couldn't hear anything while I was on hold, so I missed everything until now.
Trust me, you didn't want to hear that. Another imbecile calling me, claiming that I'm a liar, and then he sends me a clip and it proves that he's a liar. But anyway, go right ahead. Let's not waste any more time with that absolute imbecile. Go ahead.
Right. I just wanted to make a comment, and I hope Jack Smith has taken all the notes he can find. I was so hoping he'd get a case before the election on Trump, and then he had to quit. So,
yeah.
And they think we're so stupid.
Well,
the megas do.
Here's what I would say to that. There's a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump that are very stupid. You're very
I voted for him a little bit.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Well, no, it did. I'm glad you did what you did. If we had more people that did what you did, we wouldn't be in this situation. But I'm going to tell you something. Never have I said everybody that voted for Donald Trump is stupid. But at this point, if you still support this man, there's something wrong with you. The damage that he is doing to this country every single day. It's really sad. And you know, listen, if you get your news information from Jesse Waters or Fox News or Sean Hannity or Mark Levin, if you get your news from OAN or Matt Gaetz, and sadly, there's a lot of people that get their information. So when they hear it over and over again from these imbeciles, excuse me, they believe it. They believe it.
I got some friends that are MAGAs, and I was over their house one day, and another friend of theirs came in, and she said she'd heard something on the news about Trump. And my friend that are MAGAs, she's like, no, you're listening to the wrong news. I did not say a word because they keep trying to get me to watch Newsmax, and I don't watch Newsmax.
What a joke of an organization. But I do have something to thank Newsmax for. About 2.5 years ago, some of my videos went viral because they interviewed me at a Trump rally. Actually, it wasn't that long ago. What am I talking about? It was like 1.5 years ago, maybe? Something like that. Yeah. They interviewed me, and they had no idea that I was going to unload on them. It's a 2-minute video where I just went after Trump, and I called his rallies Klan rallies, and it went viral. So I do want to thank Newsmax for that, interviewing me, not knowing who I was. Thank you, Newsmax. But that is not, it's the opposite of news. Just like Fox News, I call Fox Noise. I mean, Newsmax is an absolute joke. They literally perform verbal fellatio on Donald Trump 24 hours a day. It's disgusting.
They do. And before my husband passed away, he would watch a little bit of all of them to see what the difference was, you know, and everything. we'd watch MSNBC a lot of times, but he would flip around while I was at work and just to see what the other channels were actually saying about him.
Well, I'm going to tell you
And
something. What I do, I don't even like watching CNN anymore, but it is my job. So every night I watch a little bit of CNN and I watch a little bit of Fox News because I want to hear what the other side is talking about. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of CNN anymore either. I have some friends that used to work at CNN, Don Lemon being one of them. The stuff that I've heard you wouldn't believe. But I watch both, and then I make my own decisions. I don't watch a lot of MSNBC, not to say that there aren't some talented people there. I think Lawrence O'Donnell is great. But I watch both sides, and I try to, form my own opinions on that and try to separate fact from fiction. Thank you for the call, my dear. It's good to hear from you. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. 702-221-7283. Lisi, is that correct?
Yes.
Lisi, hi. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Yeah, it's more of a comment more than anything, but I just want to put it out there. I believe that when Trump took those top secret documents to Mar-a-Lago, I think that he was looking for those Epstein files.
It's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know, but here's what we do know.
I know.
There has to be a real reason why he took those files.
Right.
There also has to be a real reason why he defied a subpoena for at least a year.
True.
Why did he do that? I don't think he did it just for his ego to show off to his friends. I'm not buying that explanation. There has to be a real reason, and you might be right. That could be the reason. I don't know. It very, very much could be.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm going to say. But I've been a fan of your show, and I love what you're doing, and keep doing it.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Listen, going back to the Epstein stuff, and by the way, the number to call 702-221-7283. We all know if you have half a brain, which I know some of you who voted for Donald Trump do not, why is Maxwell being treated like a VIP? This is not an opinion. We already have the facts here. We know that Maxwell right now, who was transferred to a Club Med facility, gets preferential treatment. She was allowed a pet. Maxwell is allowed to work out at any time of the day with security. Could be in the middle of the night. Maxwell is allowed food delivered to her room as if it was some sort of room service deal. She's allowed to use laptops when her guests show up to visit her. She's allowed visitation. She's allowed to use laptops. They give her free snacks and her guests. Why? Give me one logical reason, MAGA, that you can come up with that wouldn't lead you to believe that they're doing this because they're trying to protect Donald Trump. Give me one logical explanation on why they're treating Maxwell this way. Now, you can't. It's indefensible. It's unprecedented. You can't. Donald Trump desperately for months, maybe even for years, has wanted this Epstein story to go away. Well, guess what? It's not. It's here to stay. And I'm hopeful that eventually we're going to see all these files with victims' names being redacted, of course. And most of the truth has already come out. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he was doing nothing at Jeffrey Epstein's home, spending a few hours with an alleged victim. I'm sure he did nothing wrong. I'm sure Donald Trump didn't pay anybody off because he never does that, right? We know Donald Trump was on the Epstein flight log at least 7 times. We learned that in the Maxwell trial. You know who wasn't on the flight log? Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. Number to call again, by the way, if you want to be a part of the show, is 702-221-7283. I think we want to go next to Rhonda, if I'm not mistaken. Hi, Rhonda. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Good. Hey, good to see you. Listen, I want to ask you a quick question. I know the show is rounding up. Listen, what would happen if he pardoned that scumbag
Maxwell, you're talking about?
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to tell you
what happened.
I'm going to tell you what I think MAGA Republicans would say. Well, he has the right to do it. He's the president of the United States. That's what they would say. Remember that when they were up in arms, when Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, which I think any father would do. By the way, nonviolent crimes. There was some tax evasion there. They were so angry when Joe Biden pardoned his son. I guarantee you many in the MAGA base, maybe not all, but many will use the excuse, well, he's the president. He has the right to do it. That's what they're going to say. I'm telling you.
But do you think that we'll have some crossovers? You think some of the Republicans will come over?
They're certainly not going to. I don't think they're going to come over and they're going to say they're Democrats, but I do think there might be a few like Marjorie Taylor Greene that will certainly be against it.
Okay.
They'll certainly be against it, but I do believe that's going to happen, by the way. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
It could be on the last day of Trump's presidency. I don't know. But I am convinced that Maxwell is going to get a pardon. And when you look at what they've done for her already, it's so despicable. It's so disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the people that he's already pardoned, and now they're back in jail. Some of you could look that up as well. I kind of sensed that this was probably going to happen, but now Donald Trump has put himself into a corner where there's really not much he can do. I think these files eventually are going to be released because of these few Republicans that are doing the right thing.
Right. Thank you, Brian.
All right.
You're doing an awesome job. Love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, because I love my fans so much, we talk about healthcare on this show literally all the time. It's why we were in a government shutdown to begin with. I am so glad to be partnered up with my friends at Chapter. Okay. Chapter has free and unbiased Medicare help. And as you know, open enrollment is going on through December 7th. So now's the time to do it. They average saving people around $1,100 a year. And here's the best part. It's free. So you see the number on the bottom of the screen there, 212-461-4078. If you give them a call right now, don't wait. Give them a call right now. Write down the number. You could also go to askchapter.org/limits. They will give you free advice. And if they think you're on the right plan, guess what? They're not going to tell you to switch plans. They're honest people. They're good people. And that's what they're here to do. They're here to help you. The phone call usually takes less than 20 minutes. My family did it themselves, and they're saving money already. So give them a call. Chapter for unbiased Medicare help, 212-461-4078. Tell them I sent you. So just a quick reminder, tomorrow on the show, I told you guys that I was going to be playing some clips from the Tim Pool, Myron Gaines, Alex Stein live debate with a live studio audience. I told you guys I was going to play it today. They're airing it tomorrow morning, so I'm going to allow them to air it first, which I think is the right thing to do. And then I'm going to play clips of that tomorrow. So I can guarantee you it's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss that. If you go on my X page, I have a new handle. It used to be at PTL Radio Show. That's my handle on YouTube and everything else. But if you go on my X page, it's the Brian Shapiro. The Brian Shapiro on my X page. So if you would check that out, go ahead and do it. You can find me on there. It's the Brian Shapiro to follow me on X. So we run an independent radio show here at KSHP. And because we're independent, we rely on good people like you to help support what we do. So here's the best thing you can do to help us. Go to pushingthelimits.live. And again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations. You'll see a little button there that talks about donations, $5, $10, $20 a month. It doesn't really matter what you do. We just appreciate it. You know, good people out there who went to my website, like Kirk. Kirk made a generous donation. I appreciate Kirk very much. Jessica made a very generous donation. She says, I love what you do, Brian. Please keep up the great work. This is great. I love this. Mark went on my website. He made a monthly donation starting today. And Mark says, Brian, you help get me through the workday and my lunch hour. I appreciate you so much. Well, I appreciate you back, man. So if you like what I do and you appreciate what I do, that's what we ask of you. Go on pushingthelimits.live. And if you can, if you have the time to do so, make a monthly donation. That really helps us out a lot. And we really appreciate you guys very, very much. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Thank you to all the cowards out there that are tough guys on the keyboard, but they don't have the guts to call into a live radio show. You've proven what cowards you are. And I also would like to thank the people that do call in. I appreciate you guys very much, and I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow, everybody. Tomorrow's Friday. Have a great day.
Just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice.